When Ghost of Tsushima released, players praised its beauty, emotion, and attention to detail. It was a love letter to samurai cinema and Japanese culture, but one question has followed the game since the beginning: how historically accurate is it? The story takes place in the year 1274, during the first Mongol invasion of Japan. The real invasion happened that same year, when Kublai Khan sent thousands of Mongol soldiers across the sea to capture Tsushima Island before advancing toward the mainland. The game starts here, at that invasion. It sets the tone with fire, chaos, and overwhelming odds. Historically, the Mongols did attack Tsushima first. The island was small, defended by a local samurai force of around 80 men, led by the real-life governor, So Sukekuni. They were completely outnumbered. Mongol troops landed on the shores and wiped out the defenders within a day. Ghost of Tsushima takes that moment and expands it, turning it into an emotional epic that fuels Jin Sakai's story. In the game, Jin survives the massacre and begins his path from noble samurai to the ghost, a figure who abandons honor to save his people by any means necessary. This conflict between honor and survival drives the story, and it reflects a real cultural shift that Japan faced during times of war. Samurai honor codes, later known as Bushido, were more flexible in the 13th century than many believe. At that time, they were evolving. Warriors were loyal to their lords, but survival and victory were valued too. So, while Jin's rejection of traditional samurai honor feels dramatic, it fits within a real historical tension. Where the game starts to bend history is with its characters and events. Jin Sakai, Lord Shimura, and Khotun Khan are fictional. There's no record of a samurai named Jin or a Khan with that name leading the invasion. Kublai Khan's general on Tsushima was probably a man named Liu Fuxiang, but details are scarce. The game uses creative freedom to build emotional stakes, turning historical fragments into myth. Still, the atmosphere of Tsushima feels authentic. The developers at Sucker Punch studied the island's landscapes, temples, and culture for years. They even used drone photography and reference trips to recreate how fields, forests, and villages looked. In reality, Tsushima's environment was less cinematic, no perfect golden meadows or flaming red maple forests, but the artistic exaggeration captures how Japan's natural beauty is portrayed in traditional art. It's stylized truth, not documentary accuracy. The weapons and fighting styles in the game also mix realism with fantasy. Samurai in the 13th century used bows, swords, and polearms and wore armor made from iron, silk, and leather. The standoff duels, while dramatic, reflect real samurai combat philosophy, striking with precision rather than endless clashing. But Jin's stealth tactics, his smoke bombs and ghost tools, resemble later ninja methods from centuries afterward. These choices show how the game fuses different eras of Japanese warfare to create a smoother gameplay experience. One of the strongest historical touches lies in the Mongols themselves. Their use of fear, fire arrows, and ships matches real accounts. They brought Chinese and Korean allies, and they used psychological warfare, burning villages and leaving survivors to spread terror. The game accurately portrays the feeling of invasion, even if the specific battles never happened exactly that way. When it comes to religion and culture, the game shows Shinto shrines, Buddhist temples, and ancestral traditions woven throughout daily life. These parts are carefully researched. Shrines dedicated to kami spirits and the practice of paying respect to ancestors were part of real samurai culture. The gidding foxes and spirit-linked gameplay elements might feel mystical, but they reflect genuine beliefs about nature spirits in Japanese folklore. The haiku mechanic, where Jin pauses to reflect on nature, has no exact historical record but fits well within samurai philosophy. Poetic reflection and meditation were valued forms of discipline. Samurai were expected to be warriors and thinkers. The biggest historical inaccuracy is perhaps the idea that Tsushima was liberated by a single hero. In truth, the Mongols slaughtered most of the island's defenders and moved on. A few weeks later, they invaded Hakata Bay on Kyushu, but a massive storm, later called a kamikaze, or divine wind, destroyed much of their fleet. The Japanese believed this storm was sent by the gods to protect them. That story became one of Japan's most famous legends. Ghost of Tsushima hints at this idea through its themes of fate and divine intervention, tying myth and history together. So how accurate is Ghost of Tsushima? The answer depends on how you define accuracy. The names, battles, and characters are fictional, but the setting, spirit, and tone capture the essence of a real time and place. The fear of invasion, the cultural pride, and the code of honor all reflect true Japanese history. It's more historical fiction than a documentary, but it succeeds in making players feel like they're living through history rather than studying it. The developers worked closely with historians, cultural advisors, and even the real Tsushima government to ensure respect. After the game's release, the people of Tsushima were so moved by how their island was represented that they made the game's creative leads official tourism ambassadors. That says a lot about how deeply the game resonated with real history, even if the details are dramatized. In the end, Ghost of Tsushima isn't trying to recreate history word for word, it's trying to honor it. It takes the fragments of a forgotten invasion and transforms them into a story about identity, loss, and heroism. It reminds us that history isn't only what's written in records, it's also what's remembered through stories, passed down and retold, each time taking on new meaning.